Here we are in the studio, our podcast studio here at King 5. Not his. His would be much more impressive. This is a famous composer from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. You may not recognize him, but Gordy Habb is here because you're having a special party tonight over at Seattle Center at Private.
That's right.
For your consideration Grammy party. You're the guy who composes the music for Halo Wars 2. One of the most gigantic franchises in the video game industry. Pride and joy, of course, because here in Seattle, it's produced right over there at Microsoft 343 Studios. Yeah. You're the guy who makes it sound right.
Yeah, this is my pride and joy, composing music for video games, particularly orchestral music, which is really exciting, getting to work with these great musicians and, you know, a 100-piece orchestra for a video game. It's kind of amazing.
Now, I got to say, to meet you in person, I'm confused because I thought a composer would be in a tux with tails, you would have white hair, you surely would be in your 60s. This is a cool opportunity. Not only do you have a lot of credits in TV and film, but video games. I would imagine you get a different reaction when you tell people that you compose for video games, and in particular, some of the giants like Halo.
Right, exactly. I think there's this, you know, the perception of what, first of all, what a composer is, you know, particularly a classical orchestral composer is, you know, slightly different than, you know, what you see here, which is, you know, the ball cap wearing, baseball loving, you know, kid from the 80s. And then video games in particular is something that I personally never thought in a million years that I'd be involved with writing music for video games, because I think people think music for games is something very different than what it is now, which is very much like a film score where it's full, you know, 100-piece orchestra and choir and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I mean, here I am getting to do what I grew up loving.
Yeah. As you mentioned, a 100-piece orchestra.
Yeah.
This isn't just library music that they pull and they stick into a video game.
Right.
You're doing the real deal. This is the Halo franchise. That's a AAA game, which means the budget's up there with a major Hollywood blockbuster. So, cool opportunity, but it's got to be a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure, and you know, with a game like Halo, you know, where I know I already have there's sort of a built-in fan base that I have to appease to, and that's, you know, there is a lot of pressure there, but it's also a lot of fun. It's kind of exciting to have that pressure.
Speaking of built-in fan bases, not many composers, modern-day composers, are household names other than the likes of maybe a John Williams, who does Star Wars.
I've heard
some of those epic soundtracks. When he's busy, I'm told you get the call. In fact, Star Wars Battlefront's a big game on Xbox. I played with my 10-year-old daughter. You're the guy who makes that music. So you've got that ear to make it sound familiar and yet original.
Yeah, and you know, and I think that has a lot to do with being sort of fortunate to be born in the time when Star Wars was coming out and I was just a kid. So before I knew anything about composing music, I was watching these films and loving them, and John Williams' music just became a part of my DNA, so to speak. So when I learned to compose music, what came out most naturally for me is this music that sounds like it fits that universe. So I am the guy that gets called to do, you know, the Star Wars video games. I did Star Wars: The Old Republic was my first one that I did, and it sort of snowballed from there. And Battlefront is sort of my flagship project right now. And yeah, it's great because I love that music and I love Star Wars, and you know, I'm a fanboy from the 80s myself, and so getting to do this music that I love so much is kind of exciting. So.
Well, Gordy's in town for your consideration event tonight for the Grammys. They've submitted the music officially from Halo Wars 2. The nominations come out in about a month. Good luck to you on that.
Thanks so much.
And sorry you had to show up on our first wind and rainstorm.
Yeah, great weather you're having here.
Don't tell anybody in Los Angeles.